Y'all, I just can't do it anymore.
Y'all not gonna believe me, but the teachers are crying themselves home.
Will I continue being a teacher next year? I'm a first-year teacher who just got pink slipped.
What are you gonna do when they're all gone? Watch this.
I have a question for teachers, and I feel like this isn't spoken about much or well enough, but I think that I would like to know. And sometimes it's, you don't want to put your name out there because digital footprint is real, and as a teacher you can't really afford to have poor digital footprint. But I just really want to know why teachers are leaving. Like, what makes you feel like you really want to leave the profession? Like a really big workload and you just feel exhausted and it's just like never ending? Is it because you feel like you don't get paid enough for the amount of work that you do? Is it because that you feel like people are just too disrespectful to you? Is it because you feel like you're not valued by the people around you, whether that be leadership or parents or students? Is it because people who work in teaching are not very kind sometimes and super miserable sometimes too, which then makes you feel like you're bringing yourself down and not really just doing your best mentally because of that? Like, what are the reasons that make you want to leave teaching? Because the fact that 50% of teachers leave the profession within the first 5 years is extremely concerning. Why are teachers leaving in droves? Why is, like, if this was lawyers, 1 in 2 lawyers are leaving the profession within the first year of law. It's like, you just went through law school and now you're leaving. Like, why are teachers leaving? I need to know what is making you the most upset, what is making you the most like I'm gonna write a bunch of things in the comments. If you don't want to comment and leave your name there and people will be able to access your account and your name and potential repercussions, that is completely fine. If you just like the comments that, or my comments that resonate or align with how you're feeling, can you please let me know? Because I'm actually so curious.
Our education system is extremely antiquated. These kids are not meant to sit in a classroom for 6 hours a day. There also seems to be somewhat of a parenting crisis because, like, us getting cussed out at school and being treated like absolute garbage seems to be a thing that a lot of these kids do at home. There are a ton of parents, though, that are on our side and will talk to their kids, which is great. We love a supportive parent. We truly don't have a lot of consequences in public schools anymore. Honestly, like, regardless of their reading ability and their ability to complete their curriculum requirements for the school year, these kids are still going to graduate. I'm talking about high schoolers that are at like a 3rd, 4th, 5th grade reading level. This is our future.
Will I continue being a teacher next year? I'm a first-year teacher who just got pink slipped. Let's talk about it. I promised when I started this account that I would be honest about the goods, the bads, the highs, the lows, and here's one of the lows. As a first-year teacher in the state of California, I am not on a permanent contract the first year that I start. So at the end of every first-year teacher's school year, they get pink slipped. It doesn't matter how amazing you've done. It doesn't matter how not amazing you've done. You will get pink slipped. This letter basically states that I will be employed up until the end of this year, and then we'll go from there and we'll see what happens. This can be really troubling for a lot of first-year teachers because of just overall stability, job stability, finances, and overall a lot of teachers will doubt themselves as teachers, like, oh my gosh, I didn't do a great job, so I got pink slipped. But I'm here to tell you that this happens to everybody, and during this time the best thing you can do is think positive, cross your fingers, hope for the best. I, of course, will definitely keep you guys updated with my hiring process for the next school year and everything that's to come.
I was watching this video, a teacher sharing her experience, and in the comment section, some person wrote, "I'm tired of hearing about teachers complain," and this is for the people who feel this way. Number one, don't shoot the messenger. Number two, teachers are not complaining; they're actually sounding the alarm. I was just in traffic and I heard this siren coming from somewhere, and at least for me, I never can tell which direction they are coming from until I see them. So I'm like constantly looking around so I can make sure that I pull over. And I'm looking to my left, looking to my right. Everything looks normal. looking ahead of me. Everything looks normal. So I'm like, So then it gets louder and louder and louder. And you know, those fire engines, they just go right through you, or at least through me. And it comes up. And so I just start trying to move over. Of course, some people don't even want to move. I'm like, hello, something is on fire. And people act like they don't see the traffic still trying to go. And, you know, eventually people realize what they're supposed to be doing and they start moving over, and then, you know, they get through and hopefully get to where they are and do the wonderful job that they do. But that's how I see this whole thing. The fire truck is coming and you're annoyed because it's too loud. And you're not thinking about the fact that there's actually a fire. They're not blaring that siren just because they have it on the truck and they want you to see the big red shiny truck. No, there is an actual fire. So teachers, they're not, okay, it may sound like a complaint, but you need to hear what they are saying. There is a fire. There is a fire. There is a fire. There's so many ways to say that. And all of these voices saying it at the same time is like the blare of that fire truck. It is serious. It's time to do something. And for the folks who feel like, well, I'm tired of here, I don't want to hear about it, they just need to do their jobs, blah, blah, blah. They're telling you all the reasons why they can't do their jobs. They're telling you all the reasons why there is a big problem that is above them, a big problem that is outside of them, a big problem that has to do with more than just what is happening directly in the classroom, even though there are plenty of things happening directly in the classroom. So don't shoot the messenger. I remember the best advice. There was this lady, this boss lady, and I was having this issue at work where I just can't seem to get folks on board. And that was irritating to me because, of course, the people who seem to always be the ones who had something to say, they were the ones who had something to say. And so I went into her office and I was like, look, I'm trying to move this thing and I'm not getting buy-in. And she said, and I started going into this whole thing about the folks who always complain and who are negative and who are this and who are that. And she said, don't ignore those people. And that was all that I was expecting her to say. She was a VP. She had been one for a long time. Very smart, very great at her job. And she was like, don't ignore those people. I thought she was going to tell me to ignore them. She said, don't, because they are telling you something. They're giving you information that you need to know. It's up to you to analyze the information and determine, is it as big as they think it is? Or is it something that's manageable? Is it something that we need to do something about immediately or take into consideration? There's a reason why they're bringing up these things. They're close to the front line. They're on the front lines. They're the ones who are doing the work. So if they bring up a concern, you need to listen, and then we can figure out how we can mitigate any risk that come up as a result of them already knowing the process. They're in it every day. You're not in it every day. Well, she got me straight. Ever since then, and this was a long time ago, ever since then, I listen to people who complain because I'm telling you, what they're complaining about is real. Now, it may not be the 80% that they think it is, but the 2% that it is could make whatever it is that you're trying to do that much better. So anyway, if you're tired of teachers complaining, I don't know, maybe you're part of the problem and not a part of the solution, because I don't even really think you're tired. I think if you really were tired, you would be out there trying to help make things better and be a part of the solution, and not being on social media talking about you tired of teachers complaining, because why did you even watch the video? But anyway, just think about that. There's a reason for that loud.
What would happen if we paid teachers like NBA players and then paid NBA players like teachers? Let's just imagine it for a second. Imagine a 5th grade teacher making $20 million a year to shape 30 young minds. And then somebody catching a football making $32,000 a year and no supply budget. Because right now, at least 71% of teachers have a side hustle. And 85% of them are working a second job during the school year. Not summer, not breaks, during the school year. So you got people molding the future by day and door dashing, bartending, tutoring, and stocking shelves by night. That's like asking an architect to moonlight as the janitor so they can afford the blueprints. And America loves to say education is the foundation of this country, but we're paying the foundation like it's decorative trim. And then we get shocked when the system cracks. So teachers, are you working multiple jobs just to survive and to continue to do the thing that you love? And be honest, is it getting harder to justify remaining a teacher? Talk to me.
What are you going to do when they're all gone? Watch this.
I ultimately decided to leave because I realized I needed an easier job.
No matter what I try to do, it won't go through their heads.
I called a parent today and I said, just to let you know, your child has an F in my class because they come in and they don't do anything. And then they start screaming. She hung up.
Buddy, why'd you struggle on this quiz? What was hard about it? What was difficult? And they look me dead in my eyes and they say, I'll be honest, I didn't read the passage. What do you mean you didn't read the passage?
School districts are trying to run like companies with the numbers, and it's not the science of education.
Today I walked out of my job. I did.
I have 2 hours left of my school day and I'm leaving because I'm so stressed out. And the students' behavior, their lack of trying, their apathy for school, parents that don't give a shit.
I was getting so many questions after I had just explained my directions.
Take out your yellow notebooks, turn to page 14, and the kids just stare.
They're crying because they're getting blamed for literally any and everything that children are doing.
I spend 90% of my day managing kids' emotions, helping to regulate them, managing outbursts and behaviors and tantrums.
I spend so much time managing behavior that sometimes I feel like I'm failing as an educator. I feel like I'm not doing the job that I was hired to do.
That was a 1 hour rabbit hole that I went down watching these videos and just feeling my heart rate go up. And I get DMs and emails from teachers all the time saying, do you have any words of wisdom? I've always wanted to be a teacher, but this job is not sustainable. Here's what my administration did. What should I do? I called home and this was the reaction I got from a parent. What should I do? I did X, Y, and Z in my class and none of the kids were paying attention. What should I do? I don't know. I try to give the best advice I can. All of the stopgaps in place to amend this behavior and this cycle are gone. And it's being put on the teachers. What are you going to do when more and more teachers are added to this ever-growing teacher shortage crisis? During COVID, teachers were heroes. You all saw what it was like. Oh my God, how could you do that? I couldn't do that day after day. Do you want to homeschool? Do you want your kids to go to schools that don't have certified teachers? Or do we want to encourage the best and the brightest to get their teaching certification, to get that education, to teach your children to the best of their ability? What do you want? If you want something, administrators, parents, anybody who's involved in a school, you have to act on this or it will all be gone.
Let me tell you something. Leaving a school is the best decision I ever made. The kids are aggravating and the parents are aggravating, and let's not talk about administration. This is coming in with an attitude because they didn't like what happened in their first class. The first period teacher told them they couldn't go to the bathroom. So now they have to go to the bathroom in your classroom. You as a teacher, you're not going to tell them no because you don't want to hear from their parents, because the parent is going to say, if my daughter has to go to the bathroom, who the hell are you to tell her no? I mean, I've had students say, I'll piss, using the exact words, I'll pee on the floor. So who's raising these children? So y'all want to know why teachers are quitting? Here's the thing. Parents, y'all need to get it together. For real. Like, it's okay for your kids to be afraid of you. A healthy fear works.
You know what's crazy? I'm seeing more and more of these videos where the teachers are like fed up. They feel like they don't have support from not only the administration, the staff at the school, but the parents aren't really doing their part at home. I don't know what's going on.
The learning policy of institution, right? The learning policy institution, right? This is an article that they published just last year. We currently have 411,000 positions that were either unfilled or filled by teachers not fully certified for their assignment. So what that tells me is you either have a lot of teachers that are just not, qualified for the roles. I'm not talking about her specifically, right? I'm not specifically talking about her, but a lot of people, within the industry are either just there filling in roles trying to make money, or truly they just don't really, they're just doing it just because they need a paycheck, whatever the case is, right? Because we've seen this happen for a very long time. But the biggest issue that we're seeing right now within the education system system, seems like, for me, from my perspective, right? Seems like the parents, the adults, the children's parents. And that's been an issue for a very long time. The fact that she sent these emails saying that, hey, your kids are struggling, they're doing bad in school or whatever, they're not passing their classes or whatever. While this could be an issue from the teacher, why not immediately talk to the child and address it with the kid first versus talking about all the issues that the teacher is doing?
Emails I have gotten from parents, part 1. Subject: concern about violent curriculum. Dear Mr. Major, my son came home very upset because you are teaching about wars in history class. We do not expose him to violent content in our home. We only allow PG movies and we skip the battle scenes in The Patriot. I do not understand why you feel it is necessary to discuss World War II in such graphic detail as countries fighting. Could you please focus on more positive historical moments? Perhaps baking traditions in the 1940s or fashion trends instead of conflict? Thank you for respecting our family values. A concerned parent. Second one. Subject: temperature accuracy in your classroom. Mr. Major, my daughter informed me you are teaching something called the Cold War. She says there was no actual snow involved. This feels misleading. If there was no ice or freezing temperatures, why call it cold? This seems like false advertising and confusing for students. Please clarify whether thermometers were involved, and if not, perhaps consider renaming it to avoid misinformation. Regards, parent who values accuracy. Third one. Urgent economic indoctrination. Mr. Major, after your lesson on post-World War II economics, my son asked at dinner, what is consumerism? This is extremely concerning. We do not use words like that in our home. We simply buy things because we need them, and sometimes because Target had a sale. I worry you are encouraging my child to think critically about economic systems. Please stick to safe topics like state birds or the branches of government, but not too deeply. Sincerely, a very alarmed parent.
You know what I mean? Like, that is the problem, because guess what? It won't resolve it. You can sit there and say, oh, it's the teacher's fault, whatever case is. But in reality, and while that does happen sometimes, let's not make it seem like it doesn't happen at all. But while that does happen, most of the time, it is the kid. So until you are able to accurately address the situation, it will never truly be fixed. But this is insane. There's many other situations.
The weirdest angry email I ever got from a parent when I was a high school teacher was at the beginning of the year. I send out a welcome email saying, you know, welcome to my class. I'm glad that you're here. Very generic, very unproblematic, and it was to everybody, not any one student in particular. And I got an email back from a mom, and this mom is irate, absolutely berating me for how unprofessional I am, how the breach of confidence. It was just weird, just laundry list of very mean insults she was hurling at me. And the reason was because her daughter had me last year, apparently, and she wasn't complaining about my teaching last year. She was complaining about the fact that she received this email where she doesn't have a child in my class anymore. Her daughter was last year. That was so unprofessional and absolutely unacceptable. And she decided to just unleash that on me. And I'm very confused, because not only is that a completely disproportionate response if that had happened, but how would that have even happened? I sent the email out on my current roster. So I take the time to manually go through every single student, and I had over 150 students, so this took a while, every single student, to see if somehow her email got mixed up into somebody else, because I'm confused on this too. And then I found it. Y'all, it was her son. Her daughter had me last year, yes, and now her son has me. So I emailed this woman back going, hello, name. You are correct. I did have daughter last year. I now have son. Have a great day. Never heard back from her.
Yeah. I cannot make this up whatsoever, guys. But yes, many different reasons. I'm not going to dive super deep into it. We got many stories that we can cover about this. There's even shortages as well from the teacher perspective. You even have enrollment going down across the board as well.
All right, you guys. So they just told us that in our district, we are getting rid of a bunch of teachers due to budgeting. So I just want to know if any other states in the country are experiencing the same thing.
In certain states, right? Certain states are going through different things. I'm not saying that every single area is going through this, but of course, I'll include more clips in here for you guys to enjoy. Let me know what you think about this within the comment section below.
Remember when we were really worried about class size and schools were getting so crowded that we had those temporary trailers in the back of schools, and
I was really finna put that little girl in the blender. I knew it was my last day. Teachers are quitting. The teachers are quitting. They are packing their things and they are getting out, Eddie. When I had made that video in the comments and stuff, people was telling me why they was leaving. People was DMing me and telling me the reasons that they was leaving the classroom. So I had made a quick little list on why teachers are leaving the classroom. And this is the unfiltered version. If you want to send in your list for the next episode, please send in your list. This is the unfiltered version, so please don't judge them. They're just humans. I went to school to teach, not to raise 25 bad strangers. Okay. Fair. Admin got me up. Ooh, old hoes seem to have forgotten what it's like to be in the classroom. Okay, fair. I mean, a little bit too unfiltered, but fair. We'll take it. Okay. I quit because this little girl told her. Oh, okay. I quit because this little girl told me her mama don't even talk to her like that. So why would she let me? Mind you, all I said was give me your phone. She then proceeds to charge at me before her friend grabbed her. She don't even know I just beat the shit out of my nigga last night for trying me. I was really finna put that little girl in the blender. I knew it was my last day. I'm glad that I'm glad you walked out of that because you was going to jail.
I left teaching and I've been sharing the stories that caused me to quit. And so today we have another one. This one kind of stung a little bit, right? So as most of you guys know, I was an elective PE teacher. I was a PE teacher, but I taught strength and conditioning. So I was an elective. Kids weren't forced to take my class, but they signed up for it. Whatever. Anyways, I was in an observation year. So I had administrators who would observe me every so often. And one of my administrators was like, hey, we got to schedule your observation for, next week. I was like, okay, cool. So we picked a day next week, which meant that I met with them prior to, did the pre-observation meeting, gave them my lesson plans, my objectives, all that stuff. It was a great lesson. I was so excited for it. Well, the next week, the day of my observation, one of my coworkers couldn't come. They were called in sick. They're like, hey, I'm not going to make it. So we don't have enough subs, as I'm pretty sure most schools don't. And I had to absorb that class. I would basically it was 3 PE teachers, right? One of them was out. So then basically me and the other one would just take all the kids together and do a large group activity. So on this day, that's what had to happen. But I was still being observed. So I modified my plan that was supposed to be for a group of 20 kids now for a group of 100. Right? Easy peasy, whatever. We have to do this often when someone is out. So I modified my lesson to be for 100 kids, whatever. Administrator comes in. They go to sit down to start watching the beginning of class. And I said, hey, things changed because, so-and-so is out. I'm having to cover this class because we don't have a substitute. I said I had to update my lesson plans and everything. It's over there on the wall where our lesson plans, objectives, all that stuff is. So it's over there. And they're like, okay, sounds good. What about my lesson? It was great. Great warm up. They did great doing the activity. Walking around monitor. I crushed it. I got done that. And I was like, killed it, right? Then I had my post-observation meeting a couple days later. And I was going over the scores with them and I was missing points for some things. I was like, wait, no, I did that. I did that. I had that. What? And they were like, yeah, well, you didn't really, follow your lesson plan. You were going to do this and you did this instead. And, you didn't touch on these things that you were going to do at your closure. You did this instead. And I said, no, I did follow my lesson plan. And they were like, no, this is what you have. This is what you sent me. I said, yes, that's what I sent you originally. I said, but remember when I came up to you in the beginning of class and I told you hey, I'm having now to teach 100 kids, not just 20. I said, I had to modify things. My new lesson plan and everything is over on that board. I said, did you go look at that? And they go, oh, no. I said, okay. I said, well, everything that I did was on that lesson plan that I shared with you. And they're like, oh, well, it's okay. It's not like this really matters. What? What do you mean it doesn't matter? My observations don't matter? when they said that, when they literally, I will never forget that. When they said, yeah, it doesn't really matter. Then why are we doing it? Why am I being observed if it doesn't really matter? Is it because I'm PE and everyone just basically on PE? But I was like, oh. And the thing is, in my head, I wanted to argue it and be like, no, you're going to fix this because I gave you the lesson plans. I gave you the objectives for everything we were going to do that day. You chose not to stand up and walk over to the other side of the gym to look at it. And now you're docking me points on something that I told you I had to change because of the fact that we don't have subs in our building for that day. And now it's my fault. So at this point, I was like, I already got offered the job. I know I'm going to accept it. I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I was like, okay. So I just sat there and tell me about what I did wrong and what I should have done next time and all this stuff. First off, if you're a PE teacher, you understand how hard it is to get feedback and corrections from someone who has never taught in a PE setting. Yeah. Anyways, glad to know that my administrator straight up told me to my face that my observation didn't really matter. And it's not like they said that because they knew that I was leaving. No one knew that I was leaving yet. They straight up just told me that because I don't know why. That one hurt. I left teaching and I started sharing my reasons why. And I woke up to a nasty text message from a coworker who I actually really liked and respected and looked up to and loved. And she was one of my favorites. I was so bummed leaving teaching because I was no longer going to see her. And then for her to say some of the things that she said to me in this message really took me by surprise. She accused me of doing this whole sharing why I left teaching as a way to make money on social media. If that was my goal, I wouldn't have posted a 4.5-minute video. Those don't do well. Also, I make enough money at my new job. I don't really have to do that. But thanks. So, no, I'm going to keep sharing my story. I'm going to keep sharing the reasons why I left teaching. And if those make you uncomfortable or make the school look bad or make whatever look bad, well, probably because it is bad. Just saying. I'm not saying anything that's not true. I'm telling you exactly what happened, how it made me feel, how it was handled. And if that makes you guys uncomfortable, how do you think I felt dealing with it? The one part of the message that really, really upset me was the very last part where it says, I hope you move on from this and stop harping on the past at the expense of others. Okay, but what about me? What about my feelings? What about how I felt during this? What about the days that I was crying in my car during my lunch break because I was so miserable? The days that I sat in my car praying, begging God to give me a new job because of how much anxiety I had going into school, because I was like, am I going to get hit again? Am I going to have something thrown at me again? Am I going to get cussed out again? Am I going to have a fight break out in my room? Am I going to get threatened? And then the students still stay in my class? Am I going to get more mean emails from parents? Am I going to get... I was like... If you feel offended by what I say, about the stories that I'm sharing, I'm sorry. But that is not my problem. I am simply telling the truth. That is why I've taken so much time from when I left to doing it now, because I wanted to make sure I was in a level-headed, clear space, no emotions tied to it, just here's what happened. When she sent that message, I wanted to post another video that day about another reason why I left. I was like, you know what, actually, let me take a step back and see if this is actually something I'm supposed to be doing. I talked to some parents, I talked to some other adults, my friends, I shared everything, and all of them were like, keep doing it. Keep sharing your story. Keep sharing why you left. There are too many teachers in your position that don't have a voice and then can't stand up for themselves. There's not enough light shown on the crap that teachers deal with. And also, so many of these parents are like, I want to know what's going on at the school that I'm sending my kid to. How are things being handled? So I'm going to. I prayed about it. I have clarity and I have peace, and I'm going to do it. And if this makes people mad at me, then so be it. But I am sorry if it offends you. But that doesn't mean I'm going to stop, because This is important. And I literally left my job because of how bad it was. But, so yeah, more to come. More to come. Probably gonna do my next one tomorrow. I just need to cool off a little bit. Yeah, one tomorrow is actually the one that I wanted to share the other day, but then held off on, so.
This clip says, how it feels going to sleep tonight knowing that I don't have to wake up tomorrow and teach children because I quit my teaching job in the middle of the year. We can go to the comments. What are you doing instead? Asking for me. Currently in class and just letting them talk over me because I'm tired of it already. What do you do now? I went out of education. Quitting teaching was the best decision of my life. You won't regret it. This is honestly terrifying seeing how many teachers wanting to quit. Teachers deserve better than this. The comments are filled with teachers who want out or teachers who have already left, and it's the best decision they made.
Y'all, I just can't do it anymore. I can't. I guess for the first time, I'm just beat. I feel defeated. I've been in this 6th grade classroom, it's elementary, since January 7th. I was scheduled through tomorrow. I'm not showing up tomorrow. I can't. These kids are a challenge. The lesson plans, they suck. So that plays into the behaviors, but it has challenged me so much. And no matter what I try to do, it won't go through their heads. I don't know what to do. They need someone else to come in here because the teacher is supposed to be gone through the end of the year. They need to figure something out. Over the last 2.5 weeks, I've had 3 or 4 different teachers come in here, talk to them, crash out on them. The assistant principal, the counselor, the principal, sending kids to the office, just everything that we can do in our power to try to rein them in, they just refuse. They're in a weird time right now because the lesson plans, like I said, they're not very good. There's a lot of free time. I've had to try and find things for them to do, but all I ask from them is stay in your seats, do your work, keep the volume at an appropriate level, and we're good. We're good. They can't even do that.
This is becoming a real problem. And to be honest with you, you're just now starting to hear people speak out about it. But
it blows my mind. When I was in school, not to, back in my day, but I'm 27 years old. So not that old. Not extremely far removed from school. When we were in school, we wouldn't dare act like this. Sure, I feel so bad with what I've had to do, but they've brought me to this point. I just feel like I'm failing, but I know it's not me. Sorry, I'm a huge empath. It just gets me. So I asked them, please, let's just have a good last couple days, and they can't even do that.
That's messed up. But let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Teach Hanley 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm gonna holler at you guys later.
Y'all not gonna believe me, but the teachers are crying themselves home. Teachers are getting in their cars and they're crying on the way home. Teachers are getting home and they're crying because of this job. I just thought y'all should know that, okay? Not me. I'm not one of those teachers that cry and that has allowed my job to make me cry. I've not gone that far. It hasn't been very stressful, absolutely. But there are some teachers that cry when they leave work. They're crying because of the demands of the job. They're crying because there's very little support in their classrooms. They're crying because they're getting blamed for literally any and everything that children are doing, that they absolutely have no control over. The teachers, they don't have control over these children's behavior. They don't have control over the fact that the child does not want to learn, and they're not doing anything and putting forth effort. They're crying because they actually care more than the child and their parent. And the stress is just getting built up. So yeah, I just thought you guys should know. I didn't know if you guys knew that. Teachers are crying when they leave work.